paying his mortgage, the majority of his mortgage. So he's basically lived rent-free, and he's accumulated tax write-offs, interest write-offs, and equity investment over those 15 years, which is completely paid off by the time he's 35. Then he buys his more permanent home for his family, and now he's got a double, completely paid off investment property, spinning off a ton of cash every month.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, it's Anna Kalinsky with the Anna K Intown team here in Atlanta. We're doing another awesome small business spotlight today, and today we're focused on mortgage. We want to meet with Jasmine Mortgage. Tell me I said that right.
You did, absolutely.
Awesome. With the Jasmine team, and we have had the privilege of working with Jasmine and her team over the last couple of years, and I'm grateful for Jess, who has brought you into our periphery, and we just want to get to know you a little bit today. Mortgage is an interesting topic, especially in the market today as we're in a shifting market. And so really what I just want to dive in on is just talk to you a little bit about your team and tell me about your business. Tell me what's going on.
It's been definitely an interesting year, an interesting a couple years, I should say. I definitely am very grateful that we get to work with a lot of really good local real estate agents and teams. We are a local mortgage banker, broker, whatever you want to call us. Even though technically we can do loans in just about every state. Most of our business is still in Atlanta. We're an in-town team, and I would say most of my business has been about a 5-mile radius around our office here in town. But that's just how it works. It's the people that you know and love that you end up working with over and over again.
That's right, relational. Yeah, tell us about this. When did you start in the mortgage business? You know, what's your background? Tell us about your team.
Yeah. So we are, I have actually been in the mortgage business for about 20 years. I got into the business around 2001, 2002. So yeah, it's been about a couple decades at this point. And my sister was my very first recruit. I said, like, I can't do this on my own. you gotta come and help me, because she was always the super organized one and I was the salesperson. And so she was my first recruit. And we have a team of 8 right now. And we're small and mighty. Everything happens for us in-house. We have our own underwriter, our own funder, closer. So it's a very tightly knit little, team that we run, but I love it. I absolutely love having control of the entire process, having control over which loans we can and can't do. And I love having that connection with all of my borrowers.
So then take it a step further for me. Give me that extra sprinkle of fairy dust. What is the Jasmine Mortgage Team special sauce? Like, if you were going to sit down, like real estate agents, professionals, we have to interview for our job every single day. And a lot of times you're interviewing on the basis of cost, unfortunately, right? Because sometimes people just look across the board and they look at the spreadsheet and they say, well, what's my cheapest way to get the mortgage and the rate? Because I'm going to be living with this house for 10, 15 years, right? It becomes a rate conversation or fee conversation, which is not always fair, because the same level of service that we provide as professionals, like all real estate agents are not created equal, right? And I recognize that you're not going to be paying us over 30 years, but the person that you choose to handhold you through the transaction is equally as important as the person that you choose to help you borrow a tremendous amount of money, right? And not everybody understands that. They just look at like dollars and cents, and that's how they make their decision, which to me is a poor choice, right? There's a lot of stuff that goes in that. So break it down one more level for me. What is that? How do you express to your prospective clients when they're maybe looking at a variety of options for their lending product, why your team is the best?
Yeah, I feel that it comes down to, like, I feel like after, now that I've been in the business for like a couple of decades, I've finally got, and you know how it is when you're running a team, you're constantly improving, but I feel like we finally got to this place of, like, that I call like mortgage nirvana, where like all the parts are finally like just right. And that means being able to have the super high level of service. And because of the technology that we utilize, we're super efficient, which means that we don't have to have a lot of people to get through the process. And that also allows us to save money, which then translates into lower interest rates. And so it's always like if you want, a lot of times if you want to offer high service, that means you have to have a lot of people. You can't outsource to India, right? You've got to have local people that need to make local living wage money. And so that can sometimes bloat your interest rates. But I feel that using technology to be as efficient that we can push through the type of volume that we need to push through with fewer people is sort of like the magic sauce. And being able to have an underwriter that's not miles away, but is like an hour, can you hop into this file? And an hour later be like, okay, this is my income. This is what we can and can't do. Is where the magic is, right? As opposed to having to wait two weeks to get feedback from an underwriter when you're brokering out the loans, right? That's the other type of mortgage lending, is where you're a broker. So far we've talked about being a direct lender, where you're going, whether you're working with me or with a bigger institution, we're all selling to Fannie and Freddie.
Right.
Alternatively, you could be a broker where you then take your package, give it to somebody else who is then going to package it, and they are going to sell it to Fannie and Freddie. So you're like even that much more removed from the final destination. But that takes time, right? Those people can't move quickly because they need 2 weeks for an underwriter to look at it, and another 2 weeks before they can close. Next thing you know, you need 30 days to get to the closing table, or 45 days, versus with us, like it's 7 to 10 days. And so,
wait, say that again.
Yes, I know, right? We can close very, very quickly. So because of the efficiencies that we have in our process, we can get you to the closing table in a week. We could probably do it faster. The only reason we can't is because of all the guidelines, all the TRID guidelines that say,
disclosures and all that stuff.
Disclosures, you have to have it.
And I want to put like a little virtual asterisk that if you're the borrower, you need to be on top of your finances, right? Because while you can do your job in 7 to 10 days, if you don't have everything that's needed for underwriting, it's no dice, right? So like making sure you filed your tax returns and everything's up to speed, and you've got your income statements and mortgage statements and all, or not mortgage statements, but all that stuff would be incredibly important for you to achieve your goal.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
And I think
love that.
Ultimately, I think the sooner you talk to a lender, the sooner you're going to have your to-do list, right? And so even if you're not maybe buying something in the next month, but if you talk to somebody now, so that 6 months from now, you're going to know where your W-2s are. And, we always joke, and on our team, we're like, we've got the borrowers that know where their W-2s are. And then we have the borrowers who don't. And they can typically tell you how quickly the process is going to go. The people that are like, oh, what is a W-2? We're like, okay, it's going to take us a second, but we'll get you there. So the sooner you talk to a lender, the better it's going to be for you, the easier it's going to be to get financing.
Well, I want to say that a little more clearly. And in this circumstance, we're going to play, we're like, I'm the wife of I'm the real estate agent, right? Which is like, so nobody wants to listen to their wife or their spouse, right? They'll dismiss what their spouse says, but they'll listen to their therapist, right?
Right.
So in this situation, I'm the wife, right? I'm the real estate agent that's telling a consumer, hey, literally the first step of the process is to find out if you can buy a home and for how much, and what's the requirement for you to do so, right? And I can't bring that point home enough. So I'm going to let you, my therapist, tell everybody what's the most important step of this entire home buying process.
Yes. I think that there is something magical that happens when you hit submit on your loan application. I think like all the stars align. The universe comes to your rescue the moment you submit that loan application, because that is, it's just incredible to me how many clients I have talked to that have been thinking about buying for years. And then they submit the loan application, we get on a video call or we meet in person, and then they're just sobbing because they're so excited that, oh my God, this thing that I never thought I could do, like there's just something magical about the clarity that comes once you hit submit, that all of a sudden everything comes, because like,
Creates confidence, right?
yeah,
Yeah, and
you
then
get,
the inverse of that is like finding that dream home that you thought you always wanted, and then realizing that like, whoa, that's not what I expected in terms of my monthly outlay, and having to
mhm,
readjust your expectations, right? Like that's a really
yeah.
hard conversation as well.
Yeah, exactly. So the sooner you can get the clarity, then all of a sudden, once hey, your budget is 500,000
Mhm.
and you're going to need, $38,000 cash to close, it just becomes so simple. Like your monthly payment is you need this much cash to close, and we can be done with this thing. We can have you in your home, before Christmas, right?
Yeah.
That's when the
Cooperate
magic
really well with
happens.
some clarity. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. When
Yeah.
also like from our perspective, representing a lot of buyers in the Atlanta market, especially coming out of the market that we were just in, not
Mhm.
all people that have spoken with a lender are presented as equal, right? So there's the
Mhm.
concept of a pre uh, qualification, and then there's a concept of a pre-approval. And I think that
Yeah.
those two terms get thrown around very interchangeably, but they're actually
Mhm.
not anything close to being the same thing. Could you shed a
Yeah.
little bit of light on the difference of the two?
Yeah, so a prequal would be, you going on one of those, say, online where you just fill out an app and you think you make $120,000 a year, and the automated system pulls your credit and it says, oh, they think they make 120,000 a year. That's why here off you can buy a $500,000 house.
Right.
That's a pre-qual. That's just an automated system taking the information you submitted, pulling your credit, and saying yes, you're good to go. That's a
Right.
pre-qual. There has been no human that has double checked that you are actually work in a restaurant and you don't report any of your tips and you really take home only $3,000 a month, not
Mm.
$10,000 a month, right? So the pre-approval is what we do on every single loan, which is we take a look at your income. If you're in the movie business, you've probably worked on 12 different shows. You've worked on Netflix and Paramount and cast and crew and entertainment partners. You've got all these pay stubs, right? You can, if you went to say a big online banker where you just say, oh, I make $48 an hour,
Right.
versus, well, actually you only worked on 3 shows and there was a 2-month
Right.
gap between each show. So that's what a pre-approval does. It's a human actually looking at it, somebody on my team looking at it, getting the verifications of employment, taking a look at your pay stub, tax returns if you're self-employed, all of that, and then coming to you and saying, yes, you do qualify for
Yep.
that $500,000 house.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
I'll ask you directly. Would you buy a house in this market?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
100%.
this is a no-brainer.
Mhm,
It's a no-brainer.
mhm.
Yeah. I love
Yeah,
that.
my son is about to turn 20 and I'm like, "Come on, do it. Do it. Find a house." Like, absolutely. I would. I think it's a good time. And I'm not saying that because I do loans. I don't feel
Yeah.
that there is anything. um, Real estate is a good, stable, really good, stable investment no
I
matter
mean, what
what.
if like let's just play that out. Like, right? Like what if he bought a duplex,
Mhm.
um, maybe even put a 15-year mortgage on it, which would lower your interest rate by a good bit, right? What's the spread there on average?
Maybe like $500 more a month, $1,000 more a month.
What about
About
what's
at
the rate? How
1%
much lower
interest.
is the rate typically?
About 1%.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
substantial, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
you buy a duplex, you do a
mhm.
15-year fixed mortgage, pay a little bit more a month, you get a point off your interest rate, and now he's 35 and he's got, and let's just pretend that's the only house he ever buys, right?
Right.
He's 35. Maybe he's thinking about getting married. Maybe he's already married. Maybe he's got a kid. Who knows, right?
Mhm.
He's now had somebody in the other unit paying his mortgage, the majority
Mm,
of his mortgage. So he's basically lived rent free and he's accumulated tax write offs, interest write offs, and
yeah.
equity investment over those 15 years, which is completely paid off by the time he's 35. Then he buys his more permanent home for his family. And now he's got a double, completely paid off investment property, spinning off ton of cash every month.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that if real estate prices are going to keep going up, I think for young people, the sooner they get in, the sooner they lock in the price, because we could get to a place, 15, 20 years from now where you know, it's going to be maybe even unaffordable for people to own homes.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
major metropolitan area. Atlanta is not getting smaller.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
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 So
I
I
love
think
that.
the sooner you get in, the sooner you can buy the home, the sooner you at least have a home. And then of course, if things work out in life and you can keep buying the next property. I mean, I feel looking back on my real estate, just I've always been super focused on the mortgage business, but every time we bought a home, anybody in our family bought a home, we always kept it. Right. So we've got like this entire real estate portfolio of homes just because my mom needed a house and then my sister needed a house, and whoever needs a house, we just keep the other house as an investment property. Next thing
It's
you know,
like
we've got all these
Monopoly.
homes.
I love it.
We didn't set out to be like these, we're going to have a bunch of real
But
estate
that's the whole
properties.
point. Like I think that's the point, right? Like real estate as a vehicle for wealth does not need to be a full-time job, but it has to come with intention, right? Like I
Yeah.
think again, people are like, "Oh, investing, rental properties, that feels so overwhelming." This literally wealth happens gradually and then suddenly.
Yeah.
And to me, there's no other vehicle for investment that's going to warrant the same ROI. By the way, using 80 to 90 to in some cases 100% of somebody else's money. Jasmine, tell everybody how to find you.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. We are on Instagram. We're at jasminemortgageteam.com, or sorry, just at mortgage team, and then jasminemortgageteam.com is our website. And if you're local, you can call or text us at 404-600-1500. And there's always somebody around to answer your texts or phone calls. And yeah, hit us up.
I love it. I love it. Well, we are so grateful. And I'm pulling you out of your busy day, but just can't tell you thank you enough for spending the time with us today.
Thank you, Anna. Always a pleasure.
You're welcome. Thanks, girl. Bye.
Thank you.